Good morning. Come on, I'm the first speaker. You got to wake up a little here. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you to my friend Beth Parker for making the invitation. There's a lot of friendly faces I know in this crowd and certainly online. Welcome to everyone who's joining us virtually this morning because our shared concerns for not only the Great Salt Lake, but the air quality of this valley and more broadly the climate of this planet has brought us together in many different conversations, ongoing and some historic. So I'm grateful for your ongoing care and your focus today on this important topic. This Great Salt Lake, this body of water, is as unique and interesting, I'll say, as our city and as our state. It's inspired art, music, jokes about brine shrimp, jokes about a lost whale that lives in a roundabout nearby. And it really sets us apart quite literally from every other major city in the region, in the nation, even in the Western Hemisphere for that matter. I've served in public office for nearly 10 years. This is my 10th year in City Hall. But I've never seen a local environmental issue rise to public and international consciousness as swiftly and broadly as the shrinking of our Great Salt Lake has in the past 12 months alone. With many thanks, actually, I need to cite our great local reporters at the Great Salt Lake Collaborative who've been beating this drum for years, and that combined with the national attention from the New York Times last summer. And that collectively has brought eyes and minds in an almost unbelievable way. I've had mayors from other cities who don't have the time and usually don't ever reach out to me. Mayors from other parts of the country call just to chat about the Great Salt Lake. And it usually starts with, is it really true? Is it really going to be that bad? And it's one of the first things that people bring up to me, whether I'm in a grocery store or I'm hosting a foreign delegation who's here to visit. In Salt Lake City, it means taking a detailed look. Actually, I skipped a page in my notes. Forgive me. I want to say hi to my friend and neighbor, Tom, also. Thank you for being an organizer here. I think this attention is a good thing. We need it, and we know this from our past work on air quality in this valley, that when we reach a collective consciousness, we also receive an urgency and a collective momentum that helps us lead on policy and funding initiatives. The shrinking and the crisis that the shrinking poses is a perfect example of our ecological interdependentness and how much is at stake, interdependence, sorry. I think a lot of us grew up appreciating the Great Salt Lake because of our capital city's namesake or because of Robert Smithson's incredible spiral jetty, or maybe even as a third grade source of pride when we learned that it is the largest inland body of salt water. Actually, some of the folks here today may tell us it is no longer, but it is the largest in the Western Hemisphere and one of the most saline inland bodies of water in the entire world. And even though these are all amazing attributes, our science community has long known and stressed to us that the health of many millions of birds and millions of people living along the Wasatch Front and far beyond it is directly tied to the health of the Great Salt Lake. I know other speakers here today and tomorrow will get into greater detail about the hydrology, the Pacific Flyway, and a number of consequences that really sound a lot like biblical plagues, but are tragically truthful. What I want to stress is that elected leaders and that as residents who call ourselves Salt Lakers, we live in this bowl-shaped valley that already traps air pollution, and we cannot afford in any measure to wait this out. We have to act because too much is on the line. History will judge us certainly for the choices we make and we don't make about the Great Salt Lake. But even before that, it won't even have to be our grandkids that judge us. We will be able to judge ourselves. That's how short the timeline is. In Salt Lake City, that means taking a detailed look at our government's use of water in every facility, whether it's a library, police substation, city hall, public utility building, and in every park, even at the cemetery, and conducting a detailed assessment of every irrigation system, every water fountain, and every green space we own. It means getting smarter, getting more creative, and identifying our opportunities to do better, all as part of an aggressive and coordinated strategy. It means implementing a temporary drought surcharge on the biggest water consumers, and that will encourage reductions in our outdoor watering and, quite frankly, help us replace the lost revenue from the conservation you've already done. It means authorizing our Public Utilities Department, run by the amazing Laura Briefer, who I know will be a part of these discussions in the coming days, but authorizing them to file the necessary water right documentation at the state that amounts to an annual protection of nearly 13 billion gallons of water from our city to the lake, and to ensure that water is flowing to the lake in perpetuity. It means residents, businesses, and institutions within Salt Lake City's water service area collectively working to reduce our consumption by more than 15%, or 2.9 billion gallons of water last year alone. And it means doing it again this year. Of course, Salt Lake City is only one small sliver of influence on the lake. We need bold action from the state as well. I've been encouraged by incentives to replace grass lawns and funding for wetlands preservation, the creation of a new water commissioner who will coordinate various water conservation efforts is a welcome change in the state, as well as the major news we just learned yesterday that the LDS Church is donating 5,700 water shares, which is about 20,000 acre feet, yes, in perpetuity. That water amount is about the size of Little Dell Reservoir. These are important and critical steps, and we have to take them now. And we need more. We can't wait. We can't hope for another record-breaking snowfall every year. So much is riding on the survival of this lake. As it shrinks, so does the viability of the things that we love and we depend upon: industry, wildlife, tourism, snowpack, and clean air. It will take a collaboration on a scale larger than anything we've seen. But there is hope that through resources, education, conservation, and collaboration with brilliant minds like those that are gathered here today, we can save the Great Salt Lake. I thank you for being part of that collective and burgeoning momentum of will and action. I stand with you. Salt Lake City stands ready to learn, to change, to invest, and to do whatever we can for our part to save this lake whose namesake we are honored to carry. Thank you for having me today.